Hello and welcome to the Divine Speaker. This is the demo for a boys' love visual novel with a fantasy setting. And while it's just a demo, it's supposed to have 69,000 words. So first of all, nice. But secondly, it means that we have several hours of gameplay just in a demo. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, let's just jump right in, yeah? And yes, it's the extended demo, and I have not played the original one, so let's start from the beginning.
The birth of a child heralds many things: change, adaptation, confusion, but most importantly, the judgment. A newly born child's first destination isn't its mother's arms, but the embrace of another. The Divine Speaker, the person tasked with determining a child's destiny from the day they are born till the day they die. This destiny is determined by lottery. The Speaker's hand, guided by the forces above, always chooses the correct fate for the correct child. This judgment guides them on the path to eventually becoming the person they were always destined to be.
Rain, could we pretty please go play outside?
We promise to be back before it gets dark.
I quickly glanced over in the matron's direction, and she gave me a short nod. I didn't really have the authority to tell them what they could do, but that never stopped them coming to ask me. Well, I don't mind. They knew I could never say no to them.
All right, but make sure to be back before sundown. And don't go anywhere close to the forest, okay?
Yay! Thank you, Rain! We promise we won't!
But why aren't we allowed to ever play there? Can we go when we're adults?
No, you can't.
But why? It's not fair!
I let out a sigh, but felt a small smile rising to my face. I couldn't help chuckling at their curiosity. They would ask the same question every time they wanted to go out and play.
Come over here and I'll explain it to you.
I walked over to the table at the far end of the hall. The top was littered with paper, children's books and pencils. Buried among them was a map.
Look closely at this map while I explain. Our home, Aurelia Cavella, is surrounded on all sides by the forest. The forest is full of bad guys and dangerous animals. Do you know why?
Because the divine beings don't protect the outside land.
That's right. The beings above protect us while we are inside Aurelia Cavella. But that protection doesn't extend outside of our land. No one can survive out there. That's why everyone lives here, where we can be safe and happy. I know it might seem unfair now, but you'll understand when you're older that we're just trying to protect you. There's just nothing out there to find. The forest goes on infinitely, with us right at the center.
Everyone in the entire world lives here?
I guess some people might find it annoying to answer the same questions every day. Not me, though. They're curious, and I can't blame them. When I was their age, I asked exactly the same questions to the older kids.
That's right. That's the way it's always been.
But what's this place over there? Zuras?
She pointed to a place to the north of the city, with the name Azuros written underneath it on the map.
Ah, Azeros? I don't really know much about it, but once you get old, and not old like me, I mean ancient, The divine beings in the speaker reward you for your lifetime of serving them. All the elders go to live there alone in peace and relaxation. I hear it's pretty luxurious, but I've never been there. You can only go when you're called upon.
The kids looked up at me, obviously interested in hearing more. There just wasn't much more to say. No one really knew what it was like in there. The speaker tells us about the luxuries of Azuros, and it makes us work all the more harder to one day get in there. That's all we know about it.
Now go out and play before the sun starts setting.
They both scurried off out the door, jumping, running, and screaming the whole way. Ah, they really are cute. I'm so happy to have such a great family here. Tobias, Mia, all the others. They're like my brothers and sisters. Well, technically I don't have a real family, but they've always been more than enough. I was dumped on the side of the road as a baby and ended up here. I never knew my parents, so it's hard to be angry about it when growing up here has been so good.
Rain, may I speak with you for a moment?
I looked up towards that voice that I knew well, the matron of my orphanage. A tough woman, but infinitely full of love. She's looked after me my entire life, along with dozens of other children.
Of course, ma'am. What do you need? I hope it was okay to let the children out to play for the day.
No, it's nothing about that. I'd just like to have a chat. You've been with us for a long time already. I found you in the gutters about 18 years ago today.
The way she phrased it was really blunt there, right? Oh well. Has it really been that long already? It's true that I should be coming of age about now, so she probably thinks it's about time for me to be moving on.
Yes, it has been a long time. If you give me a few days, I'll say goodbye to the children and start packing up.
What? I think you misunderstand.
She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small envelope.
This is for you. Happy birthday. Go and get yourself something nice.
She smiled at me, so full of warmth, but it quickly changed to a scowl.
Also, don't think you're getting out of here anytime soon. I'd go out of my mind answering those questions every day.
She pushed the envelope into my hands and walked away, brisk as ever.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'll head out and pick up the groceries you asked me to get earlier then. Be back soon!
The old heavy door groaned as I pushed against it. I stepped outside, breathing in the fresh air and enjoying the sunlight. The sun was high up in the sky, and a nice breeze soared through the city. It was a beautiful day. But I couldn't help but notice that the flowers that were in full bloom yesterday were already wilting. Maybe no one watered them this morning?
Anyway...
I guess that must mean today's my birthday. It's not like I didn't realize it was coming up sometime soon, but it wasn't really at the front of my mind. It's never been a big deal to me. I looked closely at the envelope in my hands. White and simple. This is the first time I've ever been given a birthday present. I'm scared to open it. I almost want to leave it sealed. It's kind of scary being given something out of nowhere. Curiosity was beginning to get the better of me, though. It's always been a problem of mine.
Okay. 3, 2, 1... Go!
I tore the seal open in one fell swoop.
Oh my. By the gods.
Inside was 10 marks, which is more money than I'd had in my entire life, and a letter addressed to me.
Let's see. Dear Rain.
Dear Rain, happy birthday, my dear. I'm sorry we couldn't afford much to give you, but I hope it's enough for you to get something you like. The kids have been saving up just for you. From the day I found you, I've always thought of you as a son. Now that you're of age, it won't be long until you will be matched up yourself and have your own children. Until that day, please stay with us at the orphanage. Both the children and I would be lost without you. I'm sure if your parents saw you now, they would be proud of you, just like I am. Yours, Matron Arala.
I couldn't stop myself. My eyes welled up instantly and overflowed all over the letter.
Thank you.
They saved all this just for me. I can't let them down. I'll go buy something amazing to share with them. With determination, I started on my way to the marketplace, envelope and money buried in my clothing. The markets were just past the town square, on the west side of Aurelia Cavella. The town square was where new children came for their judgments, and where the speaker made his proclamations.
The beings above sing praise for the contributions you have given to our humble home. Likewise, they implore you to continue giving your lives over to them, for they provide you with protection from the evils lurking inside the forest.
Huh. Looks like the Divine Speaker is declaring something right now.
He was dressed head to toe in white and gold, the definition of elegance in his ceremonial gowns. His long silvery white hair reached down his back neatly.
I understand your frustrations about our failed crops, but do not worry yourselves, for the beings above have a reason for everything. Soon you will see why they have put you through these trials.
I don't like this direction, to be honest, but oh well.
Yes, Lord Speaker!
The failed crops. I think I heard a little about the situation from the matron. It seemed this was the first time in hundreds of years that they had failed this badly, and there's some worry about whether we'll have enough or not this winter.
Yes, Lord Speaker.
Before I knew it, I was already in the crowd, chanting along with the other residents. The eloquent and beautiful way he spoke was almost hypnotizing. The most highly respected person in all of Aurelia Cavella, second only to the gods. Just being in his presence was amazing. The whole time he spoke, the crowd stood mesmerized. I was so immersed, I didn't even notice he was already nearly finished.
In due time, all of you shall be rewarded with the freedom that Azeros brings. With this in mind, I hope you will continue your offerings and duties. Thank you.
Applause exploded out from the crowd as he finished his speech. Smiling, he waved and cast his eyes around the crowd. I waved and cheered along with the crowd, before his eyes met mine. Almost instantly, a shock ran through my body. The shock changed to heat, and the heat changed to burning. Before I knew it, I crumpled to the ground, gasping for air, but it felt like my lungs were on fire. Every breath burned my insides even more. Everyone around was watching me, but worst of all were his eyes, the speaker's. I could still feel his eyes boring into me, as if he could see everything, even secrets you kept in the deepest parts of your soul. I have to escape them now. I forced myself back to my feet, ran as fast as I could, and ducked into a nearby alleyway. I could feel the world around me getting darker, blurrier. I fell to the ground in a fetal position, sobbing. Abruptly, the pain started to move. It concentrated itself into my left arm, with the force of all my previous pain put together.
Anyone, please.
I shuddered, clutching my arm and enduring the scalding pain before my vision went black.
You must protect. Awaken. Destiny. Judgment.
I blinked a few times, trying to work out where I was. The darkness that surrounded my vision wore off slowly as I sat up.
That's right. I was in the town square, listening to the speaker, and then...
Wait, did I collapse here? I quickly checked over my body. The pain was completely gone.
Huh? What? What is this?
When I looked closer, I noticed something that hadn't been there before. Some kind of strange markings were running down my arm. It's not a language I'd ever seen before. My first instinct was to try and scratch them off, but it was like it was branded onto my skin. It wasn't going anywhere.
I have to get back to the orphanage. They won't know where I am.
When I left, the sun was still high in the sky, but now it's already night. How long have I been out? I stood up slowly, holding on to the wall for balance.
Ugh.
The burning sensation was gone, and all I was left with was a sore body. Must be from collapsing onto the ground.
Where am I? I guess I'll head back the way I came.
Through the thick darkness, I followed the alleyway back the way I came, desperate for this all to be a dream. After a little searching, I somehow found my way back to the town square. A few people buzzed about, doing last-minute shopping or chatting with each other. I clutched my branded arm close to my chest, making sure to keep it out of view. I don't know what they'd do if they saw it. I don't even know what it is. I couldn't help glancing around nervously, like some kind of thief worried about getting busted. That's why I didn't notice when I ran headlong into someone and got knocked off my feet.
Ouch!
I looked up at the person standing over me. He was a tall, lean man, probably in his 20s, with dark red hair that reached down his back and a serious look on his face.
I'm so sorry.
He stood there for a moment, just watching me. His gaze made me nervous. It was like a snake sizing up its prey. That's when I noticed it... That's when I noticed it wasn't me he was staring at, but my arm. I instinctively clutched my arm to my chest.
Is this where you usually spend your time bumping into people, or do you have a few favorite spots?
What? No. I don't usually bump...
Ah, I guess this is a privilege then. I feel lucky.
My mouth just kind of hung open. What's this guy's problem? I don't think I've ever met someone so rude.
I'm very sorry for running into you. I was just trying to get home quickly, too.
To hide whatever that is on your arm?
Again, all I could do was look at him in shock. We stared at each other for a moment before he held his hand out to me.
Let me help you up. If you stay down there long enough, people will start to think you're part of the scenery.
Okay, there's our first choice. And don't tell me any one of you didn't, at first, look not at his eyes, but at his midriff. So, take his hand or stand up yourself. Yeah, come on, if he's offering, take his hand. I hesitated for a split second before grabbing his hand gently. He pulled me up to my feet, and I could finally see just how tall he was.
Thank you.
Just try not to make a habit of looking so sketchy. Who knows what kind of people you'll attract?
The smirk on his face when he said that was unnerving. I think I should get out of here quick.
Of course. I should really be heading off now. I'm late. Again, I'm very sorry for the commotion I caused.
I quickly turned to leave. This guy is the last person I want to be wasting my time on. Now that's a bit rude from you right now, Rain, don't you think?
Wait a second. I know something about the markings on your arm.
See, he might be helpful. Quick to judge, aren't we? I whirled around to face him again, faster than I've ever moved before.
You do?
Whoops.
I mean, you do? What do you know about it?
I know the speaker keeps tomes written with the same markings in his personal archive. He's actually allowing visitors, but tonight only. Too bad you seem so busy. This might be the last time it's ever open to the public. Anyway, good night.
The red-haired man turned around and slipped off into the shadows. I was left with his words just hanging in the air. By the way, I think we have like a glossary, like something that we're collecting right here. But yeah, let's just keep on with the story.
I guess one more slight detour wouldn't hurt. I'm already late as it is.
I bit my lip, thinking hard on his words. There's no way I could miss this chance. If it's the only way to find out what these markings mean, then... Determined, I turned towards the direction of the speaker's archives. It took a while to walk across town to the speaker's palace. It was large, but mostly empty, seeing as he was the only residence. That seems like a waste. This is the first time I've ever heard of anyone being allowed into his personal archives, so I think even the Lord has restricted access. Maybe this is my lucky day after all? I walked up to the door and knocked lightly.
Hello? Speaker? Are you home?
When I knocked, the door swung open. It was already unlocked, and I could see light from inside.
I guess he's probably already in there, showing the archives to other people. Excuse me!
I have a bad feeling about this. I opened the door further and followed a corridor down to another door that was slightly ajar. When I entered the room, I almost toppled over in astonishment. Thankfully I didn't, since it would have been the third time I fell over in a single day. Bookshelves lined the walls, going up to the ceiling. Tomes and documents littered every surface, and the hazy light from the candles flickered all over, only furthered my amazement. It was beautiful. Never in my life had I seen this many books. I walked in further, feeling the spines with my fingers and smelling the musty scent of the room. Various books littered the tabletop in the center of the room. I walked closer to them. I read some of the titles: A Brief History, Sid Khayyam, Bloodlines. There were thousands of books here I would love to read. It's too bad he's only allowing visitors for a single day. I picked up the first book, A Brief History. I flicked through it slowly, reading a few sentences off of each page. It looked like some pages were missing. It would jump from talking about the palace being built to the animals that inhabit our land.
Let's see. Foundation? The Kingdom of Aurelia Cavella was founded by Prince Shion on the second eve of Augustus.
Interesting. I've never heard of who first founded our kingdom. This book must be really old if it's talking about that. I put the first book back in its place and moved on to Sidkayam. It was different to the other books, a journal. When I opened it, I found that every page was covered in black ink, making it unreadable. It looks like someone had a bit of an accident with this one and an inkwell. Or was it purposeful? Bloodlines was next. I picked it up from the pile. I opened it to the middle. The name should have given me a clue, honestly. It was some kind of record of births for what looked like a high-class bloodline. On this page, the bloodline started with King Shion of Sidkayam, 10XX, and moved down to more recent times. It ended with Prince Caspian.
I keep reading about this Sidkayam. I wonder what it means. Wait a second.
Prince Shion was the founder of our city, right? That must mean this is the royal bloodline, but why does it only start 500 years ago? Aurelia Cavella has always been here for thousands of years. There must be a mistake here, surely. People had to live somewhere before then, and everyone knows there isn't anywhere inhabitable outside of our protected lands. There's only here and the forest. I flicked the page over to the next one. The page was filled in strange markings, in a script I'd never read before. I hurriedly pulled up my sleeve to compare them, and found some matching characters. The layout was similar to that of the royal bloodline, so it must also be a list of names. But who?
It looks like the last person added to this list was 19 years ago.
So absorbed in trying to work out what that meant, I didn't hear the sound of someone opening the door behind me.
Well, well, well. An intruder in my archives?
I whipped around to face the voice. It was none other than the speaker himself. I'd never seen him up so close. I hid the book instinctively inside my cloak.
Speaker!
I dropped to one knee in front of him, out of respect.
Thank you so much for having the archives open today. I've never seen so many books.
Excuse me? Having the archives open?
He looked at me with visible confusion on his face.
That's right. The man in the town square. He told me.
Wait, what? I definitely heard him right. He said it was open to everyone. Then why does the speaker look like he knows nothing about it? Yeah, that's what I was afraid of.
I'm not sure who told you what, but my archives are off limits to all but myself.
Behind him, I could see guards appearing from every direction. Now they appear? That's what I was wondering also. Like, I suspected the archives not to be actually open for the public today, but why were there no guards? Like, how was Rain, how did he was he able to walk straight into there without any issue? Strange, right?
Trespassing in a restricted zone is an act of treachery. The only punishment fit for someone betraying their own home is death.
I could feel my stomach drop when he said that. Death. Death? I've never heard of anyone sentenced to death. No, this is all wrong.
No, wait! But please! I'm not betraying! I just wanted to read...
I don't know what your intentions were coming here, but I must act in the best interest of both our residents and the gods. Guards, take him.
Now wait there just a minute, Speaker.
I could see someone pushing through all the guards, making their way to the front of the crowd. It was our Lord, who works with the Speaker to uphold our lands.
We're not equipped to suddenly have a public execution, Sir Speaker. We haven't needed one in years. In this case, I think it would be best to exile him. Being out there in the forest is a death sentence anyway.
My heart dropped even further. I thought he had come to my rescue, but what he was suggesting was worse than death. No one in my lifetime had ever been exiled. The things you would endure out there would be much nastier than the quick hanging you would get here.
Please! I didn't mean...
Silence.
He stood in front of me, his icy eyes digging into my soul. I couldn't help but think about earlier, in the town square, when our eyes met. I flinched away from his gaze.
Perhaps you're right. Why dirty our own land with the blood of a criminal when we can let nature take care of it for us? Guards, take his arms. I'll escort him to the forest's edge.
Both my arms were seized by the burly guards. There was no hope of escaping. All I could do was follow behind the Speaker, being pushed from behind the entire way. Now that seems a bit harsh, really, for someone who's obviously not a criminal, like not even a trial, no nothing, but I think with the markings on his arms and what happened earlier at the town square, there's more to it than we get to know right now, right? I hung my head in shame as I was paraded through the town. I could see faces peering at me from windows everywhere I went. All I could do was look down at the ground. Who could blame them? I would watch too.
Release him. You may go. I will handle this from here.
The two guards saluted before marching off back into town. Once we couldn't see their backs anymore, he spoke.
I don't know why you would do what you did. Nevertheless, you must now live with the consequences. This might seem unfair. It would be best for you to learn just how unfair this world can be, though.
I looked up into his face. I couldn't tell what he was thinking at all, but I was mesmerized. He reached out and lightly caressed my chin with his fingertips. Up close, his long eyelashes trembled in the wind, and he looked almost ethereal, like he himself was one of the beings above.
You look just like your father did.
At that, he released my face and turned to leave.
Run. Run and don't look back. Just like he did.
His back slowly disappeared into town. I thought about going back the same way, hiding at the orphanage, but everyone just saw me being marched through town like that. There was no other choice. I had to leave, with only the clothes on my back, the envelope from the matron, the book I had stolen accidentally from the Speaker, and my regret. I ran. I ran like I'd never ran before. It felt like my heart would burst out of my chest at any moment, and my lungs burned with every breath. Muscles I didn't even know I had ached. Even when I thought I couldn't go any further, I kept running. When I finally collapsed, all I could see was trees and darkness in all directions. I was completely lost. I laid down on my back and caught my breath. What can I do now? I've lost everything. No home to return to, no family. What will everyone at the orphanage think when they find out? Will they be disappointed? Angry? Will they think I've abandoned them? Betrayed them? Yeah, I don't think they will, to be honest. Because they know you. They know what you are and what you're not. You're not like a thief or whatever they accused you of. And did anyone else get some Lion King flashbacks at that run? Scar much? Oh well. A million thoughts ran through my head all at once. I took a deep breath of the fresh forest air and calmed my thoughts. It was only then when I realized the situation I was in. Here I was, sprawled out on the forest floor, alone, at night. I suddenly picked up on all the things I hadn't noticed before. A scratching sound, bushes rustling, a howling from somewhere far in the distance. The wind picked up and whipped my hair around my face, only adding to the sudden terror that had struck my heart. All the stories I'd been told since childhood about venturing outside of Aurelia Cavella hit me. In fact, I hadn't only heard of them, I'd repeated the same ones to the children time and time again. Nobody left the confines of Aurelia Cavella. The forest was a dangerous place that spread to the far corners of the planet, and only by the protection from the beings above had we lived in peace for so long. I strained my eyes, trying to look into the darkness that surrounded me. Finally, I dragged myself up from the forest floor. I pulled my coat tighter around myself for security and nervously checked that I still had all of my belongings before turning back the way I came. Maybe if I stay close to the city lights, it'll scare away any danger?
It was this way, right? Or this way?
No matter which direction I turned to face, the trees looked the same, and from every angle I could hear strange noises.
Come on. Which way? Which way?
I whipped my head from left to right before dropping my head into my hands. I unconsciously let out a sigh.
It's hopeless.
Once again, I was surrounded by the sounds of the forest and the feeling of the unknown. Who knew it would be this scary? An eerie feeling gripped my heart. I could feel eyes on me.
No, I must be imagining it.
Suddenly, it was quiet. All I could hear was my own heartbeat, quickening by the second. I had to get out of here. With no sense of direction, I just ran. Ran until I couldn't run anymore. No matter where I went, everything looked the same. The trees started to blend together in my eyes, becoming one entity. I collapsed onto the ground and crawled backwards until my body hit a tree. Just the feeling of having something behind me made me feel more secure. I buried myself into its huge roots. I could barely make out my hand in front of my face in the pitch-black darkness. The night was freezing. I brought my knees up to my chest, hugging in tight to try and get some warmth. I felt the letter that I had hidden in my clothes.
I'm sorry.
With the letter clutched close to my heart, I shut my eyes to try and escape from the dangers of reality.
Destined child. False prophecy. Speak. Awaken.
I awoke with a start.
What was with that dream? I feel like that's not the first time either.
Everything felt kind of hazy, and I could barely recall what it was about. I uncurled my body from the forest floor and started to take notice of my surroundings. Rays of bright light shone between trees' branches, bringing a slight warmth to my face. It felt nice after the cold wind from last night. The air felt crisp, which must be a sign it's still early.
What?
When I finally started looking around me, I noticed something strange. I was surrounded by beautiful flowers, kinds I'd never seen before.
When did these get here?
Last night was just so dark. Were they here before? They could have been, but isn't it a little strange for them to be around me in a circle? I let out a sigh.
What's with all of these strange things happening to me?
The weird pain I had in the town square just yesterday, the dreams that I can only half remember, not to mention the markings on my arm. I raised my arm up to the sky, inspecting it closely in the sunlight. I traced the symbols gently with my fingertips.
It's definitely the same symbols from the book I brought with me. What is it trying to tell me?
I absent-mindedly played with the flowers that surrounded me, whilst recalling the events of yesterday.
I need to find someone that can read these markings. But there's no way I'll be able to sneak back into Aurelia Cavella.
I pulled the book out and flicked through some of the other pages. Most of them were readable, but relatively unimportant. Charts, lists, budgets. But these 2 pages, the royal bloodline and the one that matched my markings, written in an unknown language. I looked back at the family tree. Everyone knows the monarchy unexpectedly ended around 20 years ago, but the reasons why weren't widely known or disclosed. I checked over the names again. King Shion of Sidkayhem. What is this Sidkayhem? Why does the bloodline only start 500 years ago? And then Prince Caspian, the final name, 37 years ago. Under it, a signature barely legible. Lucius.
He could still be alive. He might be able to tell me what this marking means. If only I knew where he was.
I suddenly realized just how hungry I was. I guess the last time I ate any food was yesterday. I tried to swallow, but my throat felt all dry and scratchy. I'm seriously thirsty. I searched my pockets, but I didn't have anything to eat with me. Finally, I got up and stretched my shoulders out. I'd give anything to sleep on a bed instead of the ground again. First task today, find water.
Easier said than done, of course.
I glanced at the trees around me, but I had no clue which way I came from last night. I'll just have to pick a direction and hope for the best. I brushed the dirt off of my clothes and started my hike to find water. By now, the sun was out high above, shining brightly. It warmed my chilled body and calmed my mind. Compared to last night, the forest wasn't even half as terrifying. Sunlight filtered through the green leaves above, leaving interesting patterns all over the ground. Moss grew over the moist tree trunks and roots, making everything look fuzzy and warm. I could hear the faint tweeting of birds up in the canopy. Instead of scary, it was actually kind of beautiful. The only sound I could hear was my own breathing and twigs breaking under my boots. It was peaceful, even serene when the sun was up. Without noticing, I was slowing my pace, taking in the scenery and enjoying the atmosphere. Everything that happened last night felt like a dream. Wildflowers littered the ground where I was walking, so I tried to avoid stepping on them. I leaned down and picked one to bring with me. I kept walking at my own pace like this for a while, before I was hit with a foul stench that quickly overpowered the fresh smell of the flower in my hand. It was kind of like off meat mixed with something sickeningly sweet. I kept walking, and it kept getting stronger.
What is that?
In the distance, I could see some kind of cloth jutting out from under the brush. The closer I got, the more overpowering the smell was. It looked like some kind of knapsack. Could there be food in there? Water? Something I could use out here? I tried to pull it out from under the bushes, but it must have been stuck in the branches. I grabbed on with both of my hands and gave it one big pull.
Whoa!
It came out easily when I used all of my weight, but I pulled so hard I fell backwards onto my butt. The smell was suddenly so sickening that I couldn't help but gag. When I looked down at my lap, the knapsack sat between my legs, and I could feel something wet touching my leg. I reached down to grab it. Whatever it was stone cold and slightly damp. What is that? Well, I have a hunch. I don't like it. I held my breath, but the stench completely overwhelmed my senses.
3, 2, 1.
Slowly, I wrapped my hand around it and with a final surge of courage, pulled it into view. No. I could feel all the blood instantly drain from my face. I threw it as far as I could, but I could still see it poking out from the bushes. I scrambled away as fast as possible, trying to put some distance between myself and that thing.
No. No. No.
This isn't happening. I turned away quickly and my stomach lurched. The bag wasn't stuck in the bushes. It was stuck in someone's arms, and I just pulled one right off. I brought my hand to my chest, the feeling of my heartbeat on my palm the only thing making this feel real. I gagged again, this time much more violently than before. I was just lucky my stomach was still empty. There's no way. This couldn't be happening to me. Just yesterday I was living a normal life, safe and happy. How did it come to this? I glanced back in the direction I threw it. It hadn't moved. An arm. A decomposing human arm. Who would be out here? I can't think of anyone wanting to leave Aurelia Cavella. No one leaves. I've never even heard of anyone else being expelled. Then, have others also been outcast like I was? How long had the body been there? Another wave of nausea washed over me. I could feel the moisture on my hands. The slimy mucus left a brown sludge all over my palms. I rubbed my hands on the ground until they were red raw, but the stains weren't going anywhere. Why won't it come off?
Get off! Please, get off!
I scrubbed, and even though you couldn't see it anymore, I could still feel it. It felt disgusting. The pangs of hunger I felt only a few minutes ago were completely gone. Thank the gods I hadn't found anything to eat yet. I would have instantly lost it. I couldn't move. There had to be a reason it was out here, so far from Aurelia Cavella. But why? What could have done this to them? I glanced back towards the bushes from behind my bangs. If there were arms, what about the rest of them? I don't want to find out.
I have to get out of here!
I leapt back to my feet, spun around and sped away, giving no notice to the knapsack I left on the grass.
How long have I been running?
I could still feel it. When I looked down at my hands, there was nothing, but I could still feel it. No matter where I looked, I felt like it was still there, almost watching me. The sound it made when I ripped the bag from the bushes, it echoed through my mind.
Wait, what's that?
Is that water? I could definitely hear a faint trickling nearby. I quickened my pace and burst out from the trees in a flurry of leaves.
Water!
I was met with a river. On both sides, the banks were littered with a colorful array of trash, clothing and various odds and ends. I barely noticed though. All that mattered is that I could get clean and drink. Oh, okay. Without any thought, I kicked off my clothes and stripped down to my underwear as I ran towards the water's edge. I launched myself from the bank directly into the river. Who cares about wet underwear? The shallow water came up to my waist. It was cool and refreshing against my sweaty skin. Finally, water. I kept scrubbing at my arms, hands and legs until they were red raw. It felt like I was rubbing away the memories from earlier. Once I was satisfied with that, I moved on to my hair. The sweat and grease from yesterday was already building up.
That feels better already.
My head instantly whipped up towards the opposite bank. On the opposite bank stood a young blue-haired boy with a completely dumbfounded look on his face. His arms were full of a multitude of items. Before I could open my mouth, he turned and ran.
Wait!
I bolted back for my clothes and took off in the same direction I last saw the boy. As I ran, I could still hear the distinct sounds of leaves and sticks crunching in front of me. At least that means he's not far. The ground here looked like it had been used all the time. It formed what could almost be called a path. He must come this way a lot. Between the trees, I caught a brief glimpse of his blue locks. Soon, more of his figure came into view as I gained on him.
Hey, wait, please!
He obviously wasn't going to wait. He was close enough now that I could almost touch him. I reached out to grab him, but only managed to brush my fingertips against his back. This might be my only chance. I can't risk him getting away. With the last of my energy, I leapt towards him.
Got you! I said wait!
I tackled the boy to the ground and held him there, my arms either side of his head. My lungs burned from the chase. The boy below me looked terrified. His body was shaking underneath mine.
I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to talk.
He suddenly turned bright red. He wasn't looking at my face, though. When I followed his gaze, he was looking somewhere lower. Then I realized I hadn't gotten dressed yet.
I didn't. I mean...
I could finally see the boy up close. His pale blue hair was feathered around him, and his silvery eyes were wide and scared. When his lips trembled, he looked like he could cry at any moment. He seemed fragile, breakable. His face was slowly getting wetter the longer I leaned my soggy hair over him.
I'm so sorry. Are you hungry? Yeah.
I quickly got off of him and picked my clothes up, cradling them to my chest.
I'm going to put my clothes back on, so don't go anywhere, please.
The other boy got up slowly, keeping his eyes on the ground and nodding his head slightly. I turned around and slid my clothes back on as fast as I could. I fumbled a little while tying my shoes up. I half expected the blue-haired boy to be gone when I turned around, but he wasn't.
I'm done now. Listen, I'm sorry for jumping on you like that. I'm not trying to hurt you, but you're the only person I've seen alive out here. My name's Rain.
I reached my hand out towards him. He looked down at my open palm and hesitated, but eventually took my hand and shook it.
Fawn. Fawn? My name. Oh, Fawn. It's nice to meet you.
The items that previously were held tightly in his arms were scattered all over the ground, thrown up in the air when I tackled him. Okay, I'll help him pick them up or wait for him to finish collecting his things. Well, I hope he won't think we're trying to steal from him, so let's help him. I instantly bent down to help him pick up his things. There were clothes in a rainbow of colors, strange ornaments, glasses without lenses, and an array of random junk. When I handed them back to him, he smiled at me with his tinted red face.
Oh, thank you. So, what are all of these things? These? They're from my personal collection.
His eyes suddenly lit up.
Do you want to see? Oh, I mean, I have food and water back at my house that I could share with you. Really? Are you sure?
My hunger and thirst from earlier had returned with a vengeance. I'm starving.
Yeah, there's enough for both of us.
With his arms full of items to add to his collection, he turned around and started walking. I guess he wanted me to follow after him? I jumped up to walk beside him. That was a quick turn from Fawn. Like, of course he would be startled at first. I guess seeing someone butt naked and try to chase after him. But he went from running away to inviting him to his home. Okay. Just putting it out there, not questioning it. It's okay.
So, Fawn, you live here in the forest? By yourself?
Oh, yeah, not far from here. Not by myself, though. I live with a bunch of my friends.
Really? You all live out here together? For how long?
He stopped for a couple of seconds before speaking again. He seemed pretty deep in thought.
A while now.
Helpful.
Why did you leave Aurelia Cavella when the divine beings don't protect the outside land?
What?
The speaker says it's too dangerous to even enter the forest, let alone live here. How did you get here?
A speaker? Aurelia Cavella? Are you talking about the town to the west of here? Across the river?
Fawn frowned at me a little, obviously confused by what I was saying.
You don't know the speaker?
I've never been there before, so...
Wait, so you were born out here?
No, I came here as a child.
What's up with this guy? Maybe he's delusional from being out here for so long.
Alright. Sure.
I just let it go. It was obvious Fawn didn't know exactly what he was talking about.
Well, Rain, maybe you don't know everything. You think you know.
Before I could ask anything else, we stopped in front of a tall tree with a rope ladder hanging down from it. When I looked up, I could see a small wooden hut set into the trunk.
You live in a tree?
It's safer to be up high during the night.
He gave me a soft smile while he loaded a bag full of his new items and slung it across his back. I couldn't help but think about the knapsack from earlier. Best to just try and forget about it. Fawn started climbing up the ladder with ease and waved at me from the top.
I guess it's my turn.
I grabbed onto the ladder and climbed up after him.
Wow.
When I came up the ladder and into Fawn's treehouse, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It consisted of only one room with a makeshift bed, a couple of chairs, and many other random bits of furniture. That's not what impressed me, though.
You collected all of this? From the riverbank?
Yes. I've been collecting it all slowly over time.
He looked so happy with my reaction. The whole room was filled with different colored glass, cloth, old books, all manner of items. It all blended together to become something that looked magical. Even though it was all abandoned, thrown together items, there was something homely about it. Fawn was busy scurrying around the room, putting things away and dusting. I watched the light trickle in from outside. It went through the colored glass, making the floor into a rainbow. When he'd finished that, he dug around in some baskets, before presenting me with a bowl of mixed fruit and nuts and a cup full of water. My hunger and thirst from earlier had come back with full force. I greedily ate the food and guzzled down the water. All the while, Fawn sat on the opposite side of the room, watching me. He had an inquisitive look in his eyes. He kind of reminded me of the kids back in the orphanage. He obviously wanted to say something.
You're the first person I've ever seen out here, and I've lived here for a very long time.
I thought you lived with friends, though.
Oh, my friends are actually...
Before he could finish speaking, a rustling sound came from outside. It was slowly getting closer, closer until...
Ah!
I jumped out of my seat. In the door came a fox, a raccoon, 2 birds, and a few animals I'd never seen before.
Guys, you're back.
Okay, so Fawn is a Disney princess. Fantastic! I looked over at Fawn. Obviously, this didn't surprise him. He bent down and pet all of the animals, giving them nuts and berries as he went. I couldn't help but stare at the soft smile he had on his face.
Rain, these are my friends. We've lived together for years now. I'm sorry they gave you a fright. I'll tell them to come in quietly next time.
That's not really the problem, I guess.
He leaned down further and started whispering to them.
You can talk to them?
Of course. Sometimes they don't do what I tell them, though. They must be going through a rebellious phase.
Oh, that's cute. Ah, so he can't talk to them then. I didn't say anything though. There's no point upsetting him.
Then I really am the only person you've seen out here. You've been alone since you were a child?
Yes. I'm sorry I ran from you. I didn't know what to do when I saw you at the river. And it takes me a bit to think through what I'm saying in my head. I'm not used to talking to other people.
I looked at the floor in embarrassment when I remember jumping on him, wet and nearly naked.
In the forest, I saw an arm. A dead body. I had to wash it off of myself.
I glanced back up at Fawn.
I spent the night running and then slept under a tree. I have absolutely no clue where I am. I don't know how you can live here. It's terrifying.
He stayed silent for a few seconds. I guess he was thinking through what he was going to say.
I can see why you would think that. The forest around here is dangerous, but
He stopped for a moment.
it can be beautiful too. The beauty is hiding danger, but the danger is also hiding beauty.
I stared at him. Earlier, I did think it was beautiful for a while. So, maybe he's right. Still, I would much rather be back in Aurelia Cavella.
I see what you mean, but I'm not looking forward to spending another night out there. I wish there was somewhere else to go.
Fawn tilted his head.
There's a bunch of places you could go. Oxaber, Stagwitch, Duskmoor, Sidcaeum, Duick. They're all pretty close to here. The last time I checked anyway.
My ears perked up at one of the things Fawn mentioned.
Sidcaeum? What is that?
It's the... what do you call it? The capital?
The capital? The capital of what?
Of the region, I suppose.
Honestly, I had no clue what he was blathering on about. Capital of the region? What region? Outside, the sun was slowly disappearing, and the night was filling up with stars. I stared outside for a moment, dreading going back. Last night, it was terrifying, but what choice do I have?
I guess I better head off now, before it gets too dark to see where I'm going. Thank you for the food and water. I don't know what I would have done without you there.
I got up slowly and made my way towards the ladder.
Wait!
My hand was suddenly clasped from behind before I could start climbing down.
Why don't you stay here tonight?
Really? Would that be okay?
Yeah, my bed's only small, but I can sleep on the floor tonight.
Oh, no, I couldn't. You take the bed.
I'm happy to sleep on the floor. It's much better than outside like last night.
Really, I don't mind.
We both looked at each other for a moment before breaking out in laughter. This could go back and forth forever with the two of us.
How about we just share the bed then? I think we'd both fit.
And there was just one bed. Fawn lit up again, as red as a rose.
I've never...
He glanced around, not making eye contact with me, fidgeting and playing with his clothes.
shared a bed with anyone before.
Was that something to be embarrassed about? Oh, maybe he's worried that I'll push him out of the bed. Oh, Rain.
Don't worry. I'll make sure not to take up too much room. I grew up in an orphanage, so I'm used to sharing beds and stuff.
At the word orphanage, he stopped and looked into my eyes.
You didn't know your parents?
No. Did you?
He looked away again.
No.
He didn't look like he wanted to talk about it, so I didn't press him.
I'm not mad at my parents or anything, though. I had a good family at the orphanage. The judgment I received wasn't particularly good, so that's probably why it happened.
Judgment?
We both shared another confused look. Had being out here alone really made him forget the most simple things?
Yeah, you know. The judgment you receive the day you're born from the Divine Speaker. My fate wasn't very impressive, apparently.
You learn your fate the day you're born?
Of course. Everyone does.
They don't do that where I'm from.
Yeah, definitely a little confused.
If you're not tired, there's something I'd like to show you.
I'm feeling a little tired, honestly, but if he's letting me stay here tonight, then I don't mind following him around for a little while.
Sure. I'm not tired anyway.
His face lit up with a wide, innocent smile, filled with excitement.
It's not that far from here. Follow me.
Fawn basically bounced out of the room, down the ladder and onto the forest floor. I followed after him, not quite sure where this was headed. I followed Fawn for a few minutes before he stopped in his tracks and peered out between the trees.
We're here. Follow me carefully.
He started climbing down the shallow slope with ease. I watched him for a moment, but came to the conclusion that it didn't look too difficult. Apparently, I was very wrong.
What?
The ground slipped out from under me, rocks rolling down the slope. Before I could slip over, Fawn reached out and grabbed my hand.
Careful! It can be a little slippery here. Keep holding my hand and we'll go down together.
I watched the ground more carefully this time, embarrassed that I'd slipped up after he warned me. With Fawn's hand strong against mine, we descended slowly, and we eventually got to the bottom of the steep hill.
It's here. Look.
He parted the last of the tree branches that stood in our way. The scene before me was right out of a fairy tale. A large lake was spread out in front of my eyes, the night sky brimming with stars as far as I could see. In the darkness of night, the lake became a mirror. It reflected those stars right back at the sky, not to be outdone.
It's beautiful. I've never seen anything like it. Back home, I never would have known this existed.
A million words spun around in my mind, but I didn't know where to start. Who knew something like this could exist? I sat down with Fawn, entranced by the scene laid out before me.
I thought you might like it. You see, this lake's full of all kinds of fish. Mostly the kind that would like to eat you for dinner.
He giggled a little, the joy-filled smile returning to his face.
But that doesn't stop it from being beautiful. The world isn't just black and white. There's things in the middle, too. And I think this forest is one of those things. You didn't look very convinced earlier, so I just wanted to show you that even a dangerous place like this can be somewhere you can call home. It's all about how you look at it, your perspective on things.
He quickly withdrew his hand from mine. I forgot he was even holding it.
This is a pretty big lake, though. It's strange that it's not on the map.
I haven't seen a map in a while, so I'm not sure.
He was crimson red from the top of his ears to his chin, like a tomato. Silently, we sat side by side. We watched the fish just below the surface, the stars that almost seemed to dance around us. But secretly, I watched Fawn's profile. The moon made his pale skin look even paler, as if he were glowing. Maybe it's a strange thought, but it was almost as if he was a part of the forest. He fit in perfectly, as much as the trees, the fish, the stars. He belonged. When he caught me staring, he looked away in embarrassment.
Anyway, let's head back now. It'll start to get cold soon.
Right. I'll try not to slip over this time.
As soon as we got back, a wave of exhaustion passed over me. Without delay, I started preparing for bed. Everything caught up to me at once. It really had been a long day. I rolled up my sleeve and looked again at the markings that ran down my arm. I suppose there's no point hiding it from him, is there? He's bound to find out one way or another, and I feel like I can trust him.
Hey, Fawn?
He looked over at me with sleepy eyes.
I wanted to show you something. Yesterday, when I was still in Aurelia Cavella, it suddenly appeared on my arm. It hurt, like it was being burnt into my skin.
I lifted up my arm and showed it to him.
I've seen this writing somewhere before.
With speed, he rushed to my side and grabbed my arm. He brought it close, examining my markings.
Before I was here, I've definitely seen this somewhere.
I watched him excitedly, but to no avail. No matter how hard he thought, it wasn't coming back to him.
I'm sorry. How did it happen?
I'm not sure. One minute I was in a crowd of people completely fine, and then I was suddenly in so much pain, I blacked out. And when I woke up, it was there. Maybe it's not important.
You really think so? He watched me carefully, thinking.
It sounds important to me. I'll keep thinking about it. Maybe it'll come back to me in the morning, after we rest. Turn around while I get ready for bed.
Fawn got into bed first and hid himself under the covers quickly. I shuffled in next to him. It was a tight squeeze, seeing as the bed was only made for a single person, but we had enough space to avoid touching. I scooted over further, giving him more room.
Why are you out here anyway?
Fawn glanced at me from over his shoulder, back still facing me.
They.
I tried to think up an excuse. Anything would do, really, but there wasn't any to give.
I got exiled. I went somewhere I shouldn't have gone.
Honestly, I thought I'd be dead by now. We've always had it drilled into us that you can't survive out here. But for some reason, it's not quite as bad as I thought it would be.
Vaughn smiled at me sleepily before turning back over and drifting off to sleep. It didn't take long for me to follow after him.
Open your eyes. Protect. Heal. Destiny. Open your eyes. Open your eyes!
I woke up with a start, sweating and shaking. My heart was beating hard in my chest, the sound echoing through my head. Fawn sat up at the speed of light, jumping to his feet.
What is it?
I took a moment to calm my breath, waiting for it to return to normal.
No, nothing. I just had a weird dream. I keep having the same one.
Oh my gosh, I thought you were dying or we were being attacked or something. But what happened in your dreams to scare you so much?
What part was scary? I thought back over it carefully. A booming voice, darkness all around me. I'm not exactly sure if it was scary to begin with. But every time they seemed to get more powerful.
I don't really know. There's voices. Loud, powerful, booming voices. They keep telling me something. To open my eyes about destiny.
Fawn stopped for a minute, like he does occasionally when he's thinking about what to say.
Maybe it means something? It could be some kind of vision.
Vision? Things like that don't exist, though.
You have a divine speaker who tells you the fate of a newborn. But you say visions don't exist? Rain, please.
Really? I've heard there are some people with strange abilities. So, I don't see how having visions is much different.
But we've always been taught that... Just forget it. I'm sure they don't mean anything.
I'm sorry. You might be right. I was just thinking out loud.
You know, you don't need to apologize so much. Especially not for talking. You didn't do anything wrong.
You're right. I'm sorry. I mean... Okay.
Fawn quickly busied himself, moving around the room and preparing food. I looked outside. The sun was just starting to show in the distance, so it was still early. A light mist spread out through the trees. We ate more scavenged food and watched the sun as it rose up above us. Something about all of this seemed too normal, like I'd already spent a lifetime here. The events of a few nights ago seemed so distant. All that exists is now.
Rain, I was thinking. I know we've only just met. Would you like to live with me? Here?
Seriously? You'd let me do that?
Well, I've just been here alone for a long time. I think if you left now, it would start to get a little lonely. I can teach you how to live here. Where to go, where not to go. I'm sorry if that's too forward. We've only just met after all. What am I thinking? Sorry.
Well, it's not like I have anywhere else to go. Like you said, he hasn't seen anyone else out here. We might as well stick together, if he's offering. The only other option would be to wander around alone. I don't ever want a repeat of my first night out here. Alone, cold, scared. Plus, he has the kind of face that makes me want to look after him. Watching him babble like that is kind of endearing.
I would be very happy to stay here with you, if you'll have me.
Really? I was sure you'd say no.
His face brightened up instantly, a smile crossing his lips. He really does want me to stay.
Then how about I show you around a bit today? Only if you want to.
If I'm really going to live here, I'll have to learn my way around. I can't just trail after Fawn forever. He's doing me enough of a favor by letting me stay.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I like that.
I ate the last of the red berries whilst I got dressed, the sweet taste lingering on my tongue for a while afterwards. Okay, let's end it here for today. That was quite a bit, and it's hard for me to tell where I should put a cut, but I think here is good. So, I mean, we don't know all the backstory for Fawn yet. How he came to live alone in the forest. I hope we'll find out, or maybe that will be a while. I'm just wondering, because he was talking about the capital, about some other places, so he is aware that cities exist, right? And still he's saying that he's never met another person before, or does he only mean in the forest, and he, even though he knows of the cities, he just doesn't go there? That seems a bit odd to me, but maybe there's a reason for that as well. But anyway, yeah, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed. Leave me a comment what you think, and I will see you next time. Until then, bye bye!